personalities will say that are in our pulpit these days. Even more so, it's important that everything, especially as a Christian, goes back to the word. He says to test, go back to the word. What does it say? Pastor sat and talked about this topic today. Okay, well, in your next study, dive a little deeper. Read the entire chapter. I am super excited today because I did what God had told me to do. And if you want to know more about that and that story, make sure to click the link down below. I'll put the video, my last video there. Today we are going to really dive in and talk about discernment. It has been a while since I've been hanging out on YouTube, and I will be hanging out every day. Well, obviously not on Sabbath, of course, but outside of that, I will be here unless otherwise told, because I have really decided to focus my channel more on him and what he would have me to talk about and to share. And I am making a lot of drastic changes in my life since I have kind of really woken up from my slumber, or more of what's another way to put it? Living my life selfishly. That's probably the best way to put it, right? And so I am deciding to really focus that attention, and so I'm really excited to share this with you. But one of the biggest things that just kept coming to me constantly, especially after I really started to pay attention to what God was telling me, it was about discernment. And discernment is so important when it comes to living this life, because like as he says, that we are to live in this world but not of this world. And I feel like that's really stuck with me for quite a bit, because if you are living somewhere where it starts to become a little bit foreign to you, then you question things. Why do I do this custom? Why do we eat this? What's in that? I don't know what that is. Like you really start to use discernment to make decisions on, is this good for me or is this bad for me? And I think that we as Christians wholeheartedly have come away from utilizing that discernment and really leaning on him. There's a couple of scriptures that really resonated with me. So I want to share those with you, and I'll put them in the description box below as well, where he talked about in James 1:5, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask God. So like if you're lacking wisdom, if you feel like, look, I want to be a Christian, but I don't really know, all the things that I need to know to, be successful in my new journey. Well, the first thing to start with is getting the word and spending time with him. There's so many great devotionals that are really great. Also taking a deeper dive into what your pastor is teaching you at church, which I think is even more important these days. Fortunately, we have got a lot of corruption in the church, and if you have not seen those, like there are a lot of them. And let me know if you want me to share any on this channel. I have been, and if you have been scrolling the YouTube and seeing all the crazy things that people are trying to, make Christianity not be boring. Like, honestly, if you actually have a real connection with him, it's always giving. But you do have to invest your time in getting to know him in order for there to be any real gain from your time and your experience. And of course, there'll be things that like to dangle in front of you to kind of pull you away from him. And this is where discernment comes in. And so, of course, with all of the different personalities, we'll say, that are in our pulpit these days, even more so, it's important that everything, especially as a Christian, goes back to the word. He says to test, go back to the word. What does it say? Pastor sat and talked about this topic today. Okay, well, in your next study, dive a little deeper. Read the entire chapter. There's a lot of great resources that you can use today. I know I'm more of a King James version kind of girl when it comes to the Bible, but I've got an NIV. I have an ESV coming. I have Hebrew translations, resources. So why? So that let me dive a little bit deeper. I don't know this word. Let me figure out what this word means, and I've been homeschooling my kids. And so one of the things that, and it's like third grade, right? In kindergarten, one of the things is, it's like, if you don't know this word, sound it out. And they go, well, I don't know what this word means. Look it up, and it's simple, but taking that time to do it. Another scripture is Philippians 1:9-10. And Paul was praying for the church and for the believers. And he was praying that we grow in love, knowledge, and discernment to approve what is excellent. Like, we want to have excellent. We want to be excellent in this life. Being a Christian doesn't mean that you can't, be successful and do amazing things, right? And being able to navigate that in this world, which has just become so upside down. I feel like sometimes when I'm just finding out new things that are happening in this world, it's just like, wow, like, really, like, I just can't even believe, like, this is the world we live in today, right? But then, one amazing thing, and I feel like that this is true when it comes to God, is that he gives us these opportunities to see what the world is truly like. And really for us to remind us that, hey, this isn't really your space, right? You live in this world, but you're not of this world. Like, you have been renewed. You have been reborn. You are a new creation in me. So the things that you would normally do, the things that you would normally find to be normal, is not normal anymore. And I think because we've just gotten so laxed that it seems as if we just make everything okay. Now that the world has been flipping upside down, I feel like we're starting to remind ourselves, like, wait a minute, this is not normal, and this is not what I do. So how do I live a life, in this world that is starting to kind of flip on its head and be something outside of the norm for me as a Christian? And so that's what this is all about. And so understanding discernment and understanding, like, how to use it in your life. And the best way to do that is to get into the word. And then don't just take somebody's word because they say it. Don't take my word because I say it. Actually get in there and read and understand it for yourself. He wants you to ask questions. Well, I don't understand this. It doesn't make sense to me. Like anything, like, even if it's your pastor, like, like, he's talking about this, but I just didn't resonate with me. Spend some time studying. Get a better understanding. Maybe God wanted to share something in more depth with you on your own time together. Like, this is a test. Don't be afraid to ask questions. And, we live in a space where people judge people for asking questions. And I feel like I never say more times in my life, especially as a parent homeschooling, ask questions. Ask questions. Do you have any questions? Right? And there are no stupid questions. Always make sure that you're asking questions to really take a deep dive and get a better understanding. If God says to test his word, how much more are we to test what is in this world, which is deemed to be more than likely something that is probably corrupt? Like, I feel like, and I used to be very naive, very, very naive when I was younger, because I used to be like, whatever people are innately good. And everything that they say, nobody would normally lie. Like, of course, like, nobody would ever want to poison me, right? But the reality is that we don't know. And this is why it's so important that we protect ourselves, we protect our family by getting a better understanding of what is in this world and taking a deep dive into history. So we're going to talk about that because that's the next thing that is on the topic. I've been reading more books to get an understanding. It's funny because I wasn't too much of a fan of history when I was in high school, but now I have never wanted to know more about my history and just history in America and history in general more than I have now. I am getting ready to push into my 40s. I have a couple more days before I'm in my final year of my 30s. And I'm like, I want to go into my 40s with some kind of knowledge of, like, how the world got to be where it is today, right? But yes, so don't just take anybody's word for it. And if you are somebody that's on the fence that just feels like, like, hey, this God thing isn't, I don't really know if this is for me, test ask questions, stick around, come to find out and realize what it is that you don't understand. Why are you drawn to this? And if you are drawn to this, then maybe there's something that you need to know and maybe you need to take a deeper dive into. So I hope that this was helpful for you today. I am excited to connect with you again in another video. And if you are looking for to stick around a little bit longer, then I really encourage you to check out this video, because that video is about God actually calling me. He called me. So check it out, and I will see you in my next video. Bye-bye.